Okay, so then let's see. We were in August when I got all those jobs, and then Becker became a series regular. Becker ended in at Christmas. So, but if we back up to that May when I shot that pilot, that I also shot an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And one thing I knew about Curb Your Enthusiasm was that people in LA watched it. And so it's a good chance that this can maybe get me a job. Like that, to be seen in that would be good. Because I definitely would be something to promote as an actor when you're trying to, when you're in the hustle of trying to get jobs. So, but it didn't air for like almost a year later. Like I was sitting there waiting on this thing to like send it out, and then they decide a year, like the next year, one, they're gonna run the whole previous season and then start the new season, and that's finally the season they come in on. But regardless of how impatient I was, clearly the timing was as ideal as it could have possibly been, because then I was seen by JJ, and I remember at the same time he was developing something with Greg Grunberg, his friend, and the two of them I remember were talking to each other on the phone about me, which ended up getting me this meeting to go in for Lost. And then at the time when I was off Lost, it was like, okay, I was the only one who auditioned for Hurley when I went in, and I was like, I don't know what this means. I think it's a good thing, but we'll see. And then we tested. It was also like the best pilot test I'd ever done, because it was clearly JJ's room when you walked in, and having that energy, because I already knew he'd signed off on me, that he liked me, he wanted me, that I felt like, oh good, then it's just like showing them what JJ likes, and that gave me a great amount of confidence, and then because he sat a little closer, and then he shook my hand at the end, and it's like great, like, and so that was cool. And then you find out, you're going like, and this was, listen, I didn't know what it was going to be. If I knew anything, I'd get a Hawaii vacation out of it, and that was fine with me because I loved Hawaii. And in fact, I added, I had them, basically make my flight leave like a week later. So then after I shot it, I would just hang out in Hawaii for a week to just kind of, celebrate the job and just enjoy myself and stuff. And it was like already, and we were kind of late in the production of pilots. So I came back, saw the pilot at like a screening at ABC, and very soon after that, or maybe not even then, but we'd heard that we were picked up like almost immediately by the time I got back home. And then it was like, oh, exciting. And so then I was like going to upfronts, my first whole thing of dealing with that. I remember also with Lost, there was this thing, it's like, when Lost first presented itself, people were like going, where are you going to go with this? Because it was such a crazy pilot. There's so much going on, and it's just like, and in the sense of the suspicion of, did they know where it's going, and thing already started in. And so I remember there was this kind of like this briefing at the beginning before we were released to the public and the press and all that, was that saying like, that where it says that, listen, we say we know where it's going, we know what it's headed to. And it wasn't until a little further into that season that we as actors were free to be like, we have no idea where it's going. We know from script to script what's happening.
Because they would just give you sides, right?
No, we got the full script.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we read the script the way audiences would watch a new episode. So it'd be like, we get the new one, and we go read so you know what we're talking about when we go to work the next day and stuff like that.
So you were seeing the evolution of your character on paper with real.
Yeah, and it took a while before, like, it was great because when we first when we were doing the pilot, JG's amazing at compartmentalizing his brain sometimes to focus on one thing and then go, and he can do something else and give that the focus his needs, because he would direct a scene, they'd shoot it, and then they'd set up the next shot, and so there'd be some downtime, then he'd turn back around to the group in Video Village, because they were like trying to figure out what the first 6 episodes could be of this show. Also trying to figure out what's the cliffhanger ending for this season of Alias. And then go back, direct the scene, and then, be like, okay, and keep figuring that out. There was, and then when the show got picked up and the writer's room started up, it became a thing of like, okay, let's come up with the origin story of every character kind of thing, was like the exercise. And so then they, one of the writers had his name, Javier Grillo Marxwatch. He once was coming out to visit, and he was telling me what origin story they had come up for me, and in that one, Hurley was a repo man who is just charming enough that he can get the stuff. He can just kind of talk people out of their stuff, because he wasn't going to be like a heavy or a guy who intimidates people and stuff like that. And that ended up changing. That ended up not being part of Hurley's story. Although there's a part later when Jack gets captured by the others, and they're asking him about like what he did off island, and he said, I was repo man, and that he was coming to Australia to, and I was like, oh, so it's like that like that post-it got stuck somewhere and surfaced later. And
but I can picture that.
It was a great story. I liked it a lot. And then later I got the story from Damon that was like the lottery winner, and that he's really like a secret millionaire, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But there's something missing in that email I'd gotten where it described it. And because I was like, where's my Twilight Zone element? And it wasn't until I got the script that the whole thing about the zoom in at the end, and you realize that the numbers that have been haunting him are on this thing. And I was like, oh, okay, there it is. Because like every episode had this thing that was like a Twilight Zone ending, and I was like, where's my Twilight Zone ending? And that's the part I really wanted.